Welcome to Beyond Love and Light podcast, where we bypass the fluff, lift the veil, and explore how to navigate the human experience as a spiritual being. I am Laura Gavander, a transformation coach, psyche, and emotion code facilitator. Join me as we delve into topics relating to human consciousness, alternative healing modalities, quantum physics, and the psychology of spirituality. I bring you insights and information from amazing guests and my own experience and observations. Please remember to subscribe to get notifications. And if you'd like to know more about me and my work, please go to my website, www.lauragavander.com. So let's get on with the podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Love and Light podcast. I am very, very excited for my guest today, Kimberly Sherry. And I think you're going to find information that I can almost guarantee you've never heard before. So I just want to give a brief little background because she does have a fascinating background. She's a frequency alchemist and guide from the future here to help humanity awaken their infinite intelligence and human technology. With the ability to calibrate energy and consciousness at a profound level, Kimberly empowers individuals to clear the blocks that keep them stuck, ensuring they move forward with clarity, ease, and confidence on their ascension path. She's a longevity mentor, and she specializes in guiding individuals through energetic recalibration, helping them shift their abundance frequency, heal unresolved patterns, and unlock the power within. Whether it's in money, health, relationships, or business, Kimberly ensures that transformation isn't just possible, it's measurable. Clients often find that their energy shifts, so does everything around them, leading to deeper alignment, greater success, and a ripple effect of high frequency change. Welcome to the podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am delighted. First of all, I just want to just show Kimberly's book, which we're gonna get into. Really fabulous. I as I'm reading this book, I was just so many questions were popping out, and that's why I thought it'd be so fabulous to have you on. So your story is really, really fascinating, and I would love for you to just kind of briefly tell, and whatever you feel is appropriate, about kind of a little bit about your background and then how you got into doing this work.
Yeah, so that's a broad stroke, how far back to go, in which direction. So I was born and raised. I think most healers are given a lot to heal, right? So I was born and raised into a religious cult. And so that was the beginning of learning how to break free from mind control and being able to step into my power. A lot of energies around that. I was also sexually abused, born in lack mindsets with both of my parents. And so there's a lot of things that were given that, we need to break through in order to really step into those higher levels of being able to manifest the desires that we have, etc. I started off as a massage therapist. That was initially how I started tapping into my gifts. And then sort of got sidetracked with a retail flooring store. And but in the process, I always kept sight of what my true purpose was, which was all about healing. So after that flooring store sort of crashed and burned in, what was it, 2008, 2009, when everything was dissolving, um, went through a bankruptcy and was called shortly thereafter to the Amazon jungle to resolve my stuff. But at first I was thinking, well, how is that going to help me? I'm living on the side of the road in my motorhome. How's this going to help? So the long and the short of it was I was called to the jungle. I answered the call. I had already been introduced to the Hawkins scale, which is how I even ended up in the Amazon because I calibrated the place that I was called to go, etc. And it was a very pivotal point in my life journey. The plant medicines are very powerful allies if you've been called by them. And it completely changed my world. And once I came out of the jungle, I started because I had already been introduced to the Hawkins scale. I noticed I had broken through his scale and it was measuring past the 1,000 limit that he had. And I thought that was fascinating. And then I had this amazing idea that was downloaded while I was with the plant medicine that what if you started calibrating the frequency of money? So I started doing that. My clients started making more money than I was. And so I knew that that was a thing. And so I've been working um, off and on with various plant medicines over the years. They've been a big impetus in moving me into some of these higher realms. And so that's sort of the long and the short of things.
When you
Is
say,
there anything in particular?
well, just kind of, well, it almost seems like you were chosen for this as part of your own healing. It's always very interesting how people get certain methodologies, and it's like, it's almost like you needed to go through what you went through in order to get to that point. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I think, everybody on our path, on this ascension path, in retrospect, it's all guided us to become who we are. Even having been born and raised in this religious cult, that helped me to break and recognize and break through other cults. We're in a global cult right now, so it's really easy for me to recognize that.
So when you say, just for people who may not know, when you say I calibrated, what do you
Mm.
mean by that?
Yeah, so the Hawkins scale is it's based on calibrations, although it's not based on hertz. A lot of people make that mistake that they think the Hawkins scale is based on the hertz scale, but it's not. It's his own sort of made up uh, scale that he created, and so when I first was introduced to that scale, it gave me sort of a base point. I was at a conference and someone calibrated me, in other words, measured me and tapped into their intuition and said where I was on that scale. I think I was at 750 at the time. His scale goes to 1,000.
Mhm.
And so that's it's like biofeedback. So I set my internal scale according to that reading. And little by little, as I did energy work, I noticed that the numbers were changing. They were actually going up. And so that made me realize that some of the things that Dr. Hawkins talked about in his book, like you can't change your frequency by more than a few points in a lifetime,
Mm.
simply wasn't true because here I was raising, brought it all the way up to 1,000. And so when I say calibrating, I'm measuring, I'm tapping into my own infinite intelligence, my own deep inner knowing. I get a signal kind of uh, when people are calibrating, the most important thing or the very basic place to start is being able to get an internal yes or no. And so once you can tap into that feeling, then you can start branching off into other calibrations, measuring other things. Most of what I measure now, even though the infinity scale breaks through to infinity at 250,000. I use that scale for some things, but I mostly calibrate with the percentage of 0 to 100% because that's what most people can relate to. So
Mm.
that's mostly what I'm calibrating or measuring now.
So if you're doing a reading with a client, just say we were doing a session, okay? So how do you have someone in front of you. How do you tune into their energy? And also, can you just give an example of some of the things that you look for? Because it's really interesting. I know there's a whole long list of things that you can calibrate. So how do you tune into
Yeah.
someone knowing that it's their energy? And then what kind of things do you look for to calibrate?
Well, I think most of that is based on just personal experience, being able to trust my answers. So I tap into the quantum field. I connect with them. It's there, some people will call in their guides, and it's really far more simple than that. Just like when I'm talking to you, we have each other's attention, right? So when I'm connecting with somebody else's energy field, my attention is there, and we're all connected. So I'm just tapping into that field or the place
Mhm.
where we're all connected, the quantum field. And then once you connect to that field, you can
Yep.
ask any question you want. I mean, the all of our Akashic records are available, and yeah, so yes, there's an actual infinite number of things you can calibrate. However, in my most simple report that I do, it's called the vibrational altitude report.
Mhm.
So I measure things like, well, your money frequency, what is that set at? Your I used to measure the wealth container. Yes, I still do. Okay. Just thinking. The wealth container is how much you can hold of
Mhm.
that money. Are people courting to you? That's a yes or no. And if so, where? In one of the chapters in my book, there's a whole chapter that talks about, when someone's courting at a specific place, what does that mean? It's going to
Mhm.
mean something different if someone's courted to your throat than if they're courted to your second chakra, or if they're courted at your crown, if they are just courting at your crown, or do they go all the way down through your field and spread out? That's going to be mean two different things. So, those kinds of things, the kinds of energies that infiltrate into your field could be dead people, it could be energy cords, it could be what I refer to as AI, but ancient interference, the dark energies on the planet. So there's a lot of those kinds of energies. Measuring how open your heart chakra is, if you're grounded, how many creative rings you have. That's how you create your world. Martyr, victim, shame, anger, rage, fury, on and on. There's about 40 some odd calibrations in that report.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I also do work actually with the field because I do subconscious energy work. So I use Psyche and emotion code. So I know, I mean, I know what that's like and how easy it is to tap into someone's energy field. But I thought for people listening that may wonder, well, how do you know what you're getting? And and you can also muscle test. There's ways that you can confirm. So,
A lot of people, that's a big question that they ask. How can I know if I can trust the information that I'm getting? So, one of the most important things people need to ask is is this from pure source?
mm,
If you get anything less than an immediate yes, or if there's any uncertainty, if it makes you kind of afraid or nervous, that's not pure source. Pure source energy is going to feel helpful and supportive and warm and cozy and make you feel held. And if it makes you feel scared, that's not pure source. And then disregard it. So, yeah.
that's really important because there's so much interference constantly. We're being bombarded, and yeah,
Well,
it's.
yes. And even throughout the internet, I mean,
Mhm.
it's particularly, I don't think I can stress this enough for people to learn how to start calibrating for themselves, get that internal yes or no. I even had someone ask me the other day about, binaural beats.
Mm,
Those can be calibrated. And so how do you know which ones to listen to? They all sound good
mm,
and they have, they may, audibly sound good. The first thing I do is I calibrate if it's at 250 or infinity. It's almost like one or the other. Maybe it might be as high as 500. But at 250, that's a low underlying frequency. So this is how these dark energies operate is they come in on something that sounds good, supposed to be good for you. Even penance that some people
mm,
create, they'll latch onto those. Anyway, they're finding a million ways to infiltrate and make things that seem good uh, not, but were deceived by the words that people say. I was even just yesterday came back from Sedona, but there was this one trail that I noticed, and I even noticed this when I went to Tibet. They have the Potala Palace in the Tibet, and right across from the valley is the Chinese army. And so there's always kind of like this interference between you and this
mm,
really powerful spiritual thing. In Sedona, there's this Buddhist temple that is at the base of Chimney Rock. And it's like that gets between you and
mm,
connecting It's like trying to distract you away. It's got all these flags and, look at me. It had a low frequency. It only vibed at 250. And I thought, oh, that's not good. But, people don't know unless they can calibrate.
Well, that's the thing too, and this is a whole separate conversation, but so much has been hijacked, and so much that was brought out with the highest of intentions had been hijacked, and we don't know unless we really tune into things. And one of the things I found so fascinating, why I was so drawn to your work, is you do calibrations on TikTok and Instagram of certain famous people. And the ones that
Yes,
I had already suspected something was off, and I see you confirmed it. I was like, and every single time, like the ones that felt, okay, wow, they're still in their integrity, they're still, pure.
right.
I said, wow, that was kind of what I got. And the ones that you said, you go through the numbers, and I said, you know what? I knew something felt off. So that's another
Yeah,
thing that the more people can tune into this and use discernment, they're going to be able to
right.
kind of feel, what seems off, because
Yeah.
so much out there is off right now.
Yeah, trusting your guts, and then confirming it with this calibration. I think it's the most neutral way of being able to get information, because sometimes when we pass it through our filters and we're trying to decide or discern or use other information to see if it really is the right thing, we can easily get distracted or sidetracked or deceived. But if we can really tap into these neutral numbers, we can get a much better idea. So you've seen that in the readings that I was doing when someone is 100% anger and like angry energy, and a closed heart, you can feel that. And so uh, those the calibrations they just validate what we're already feeling. So
Right.
I love them.
Yeah, even of course I'm not going to mention who it is, but even someone that I had some interaction with at some point, and you felt, wow, at one point you really followed their work, and then you said something felt off. I had the exact same experience. So even if you see like the transformation of someone kind of being affected by other energies, you can kind of
Yeah.
see what happens slowly. And one of the things that
Yeah.
you talk about so much, and I would love for you to talk about the importance of grounding. I mean, that like kind of
Yes.
like the thread through everything. And what is it, first of all, and why is it so important?
Well, it is the most important part of our invisible energy anatomy. It is like having a house without plumbing if you don't have a grounding cord. So it's really can be visually imagined by, I like the image of a pipe going from the base of your spine all the way to the center of the planet. And that's going to help you release. It's going to give all the energies that are not yours, which occupy so much of our energy field, about 90%, sometimes even more, of what people think and feel is not theirs. And so we need a place to release those energies. And that's the purpose of the grounding cord. And as we had a little conversation before we started the recording about another kind of grounding that people are familiar with these grounding mats. You plug them into the wall, and that is different. That is going to discharge the electrical energy field that accumulates excess energy. And so those grounding mats will help to dissipate or disperse that energy. But that's very different than what I'm talking about. And also, this kind of grounding that I'm talking about, well, you can do it from anywhere. You don't need any devices. You don't need to plug anything in. You can do it from an airplane. This is just with your imagination and super important to
How
get
might
grounded.
someone feel if they're not grounded?
They might feel a little spacey, a little, maybe foggy in the head, lack of confidence, not feeling stable, uncertain. They would also likely to have a lot of anxiety and maybe fears. And so it's very common, even people that meditate every day could be going through the motions and still not be grounded. I see it happen all the time. People that meditate, but they're using it as an opportunity to leave their body. So they meditate, they go off into the
Mm,
clouds and the stars, and they're connected by a really thin thread, and they feel great while they're out there. But then they come back to a body that hasn't released anything because it didn't have a grounding cord. And you felt better while you're away, and so then you keep going back to that because it feels better because you're away from your stuff, but you never release the stuff that keeps you
wow.
feeling crappy.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really important. That's a really important distinction. And
So important.
so how can we, so there's so many negative influences and entities and lower frequency energies around us. How do you suggest people protect themselves? Because I'm sure if you're not grounded, I'm sure if you're in fear, if you have all these things going on, you're probably more likely to attract it. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So there's kind of like a lot of parts to that question because it's not like just one thing, or like put a rose at the edge of your aura, or just, put protective layers. I use protective layers, but I also know how important it is to check for this kind of infiltration, and remove that first. Um, Also clearing any resonators you have in you, meaning magnets or places where you have some of those dark energies in your field, so you keep attracting that energy. It's trying to show you some places where there's dark energy in your own field. And then after you've done all that, then there's six protective layers that I use. And these go right between the seventh and eighth layer of your aura. So the seven layers of our aura connect to our seven chakras. So that would be the end of your invisible energy anatomy of your body.
Wow, it's so interesting. In the book, you go into a lot, well, not only in the book, but also in your meditations. And by the way, she has some fabulous free meditations on her website, and I've been doing them, and it's really amazing. And so, yeah, you talk a lot about these layers of our aura, and you really just have to, like you even say, just imagine you know where that is. So, because I know people get tripped up with, I
Pretend.
can't feel that, I don't know where it is, and you just kind of imagine.
Yeah.
So, a lot of it I know is pulling the energy in, and I love what you just said. I think it's so important. That's why I want to repeat it about. It's not just protecting yourself. You first have to clear what you may already have, because
Yeah.
we always want to have like protection around us, but clearing what's there is so important that it's not just putting
Hmm.
the armor up. You know, we have to see because we're constantly attracting.
Yeah.
So, what happens? I'm just really curious if you've noticed what happens to our energy field when we're involved in like lower frequency things like drugs or alcohol or even pharmaceutical drugs. How does that, like, what have you seen? Like, if you're working with clients that are on antidepressants or some other continuous medication.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, uh, just speaking to depression, I've discovered that that is really pushing down or depressing, pushing down massive amounts of anger, rage, and fury that is likely not even yours anyway, because this is part of what our invisible energy anatomy, our AKA our aura, that's our wireless network. We are wireless technology.
Hmm.
We don't see things going to our phone, but we see the evidence of it, right? So we are constantly picking up these, intercepting all of the messages that are out there, the programs. And then when we're on medication, it does lower our frequency because the medicine is not at a high frequency. So at lower frequencies, you're going to attract lower things. A lot of dead people can infiltrate into our energy field, into our homes. It's not uncommon for me to find 50 dead people in somebody's house and they're channeling a bunch of those. So yeah, dead people, and then these darker, these AI, ancient interference energies, control beings is one, but just well, and there's a new there's a new thing. It's not, and I don't wouldn't say that it's new, but it's new in the sense that you clear enough layers, you're
Mhm.
going to find kind of like new things. You go, it's like going into a house and remodeling, and you take away a few walls, holy crap, had no idea there was all this dry rot in here. And so that's kind of what happened is we have gone down far enough that now we're discovering these layers of these demons that are and I hated to use that word. I grew up in
Mm.
a lot of religious programming and grew up with demons and how, it was just meant to make you afraid. And but it has a specific frequency. And so this is the newest energy that I've been finding now that this AI, ancient interference, is using. They use a lot of these dead people, and um, the demons are just part of these darker energies. So that is a whole nother thing.
Great.
Yeah, that I'm finding. Yeah, I know, right?
So
Fun.
how off like someone does or gets a reading and has a certain calibration, can it really vary from day to day? Like, is it that kind of is there that much leeway, or is it when someone's calibrated certain, is it unless there's an event or a situation that's going to throw it off, is that kind of pretty much how does that work?
Yeah, some things can change. Some things less so. Like anger. Someone might feel varying degrees of anger. But I think it's also dependent on the percentage that someone is actually occupying their body
Right.
completely.
Hmm.
I was recently working with a woman. The more that she had been not living in her body, but maybe 2 or 3% for years. And so as we're clearing all these layers and layers, and she's getting back in her body, now she's feeling all of the pain that she has been neglecting. Like she hasn't been at home to feel what's going on. So that's why things might feel like kind of go up and down. Well, like, are we fully occupying? Or the more we occupy our body, the more we might feel tired, we might feel angry, we might feel sad. Um, yeah, that kind of can
Do
change.
do we have energy from other lifetimes of like unresolved issues that are playing out that you find? Is that something you
Yeah,
calibrate for, or is that something that just comes up in during a session?
both, yeah. I especially look for these when, well, relationships or in business, when you're talking about dealing with maybe your, it could be a vendor, it could be somebody that you're working with, maybe you're trying to sell something. Is this buyer aligned? Do we have unresolved past lives? A renter, their landlord, like they could have past lives. So yeah, anytime two people are relating, if there's any crunchy kind of energy where things are a little off or strained, or you likely have unresolved past lives, which are easily cleared. And then one other place that I've discovered is a helpful place to clear energies. And I wouldn't say it's for everybody, but for those who are a little more advanced or a little more, I don't know, into some of this stuff, we have 12 soul extensions. In other words, 12 aspects of our soul that lives on a different dimension, I'll just say. And those are happening simultaneously. And those, if they can bleed into this lifetime, if there's problems on those things as well. So depending on what you're working on, you're going to find different things in those lifetimes. So that's a more advanced
Mhm.
thing, but that definitely can affect people. I know personally experienced had a very profound experience in the Netherlands when I was working with a mentor there with a plant medicine, and it took me down deep into a place of this soul extension, and I won't go into the story now, but I'll just say the end result was that it helped me to come out of hiding, which I have been integrating over probably a couple years. And so I've noticed a big difference over that time. It was just a massive, massive that I cleared and integrated. But the end result is that it's helped me to come out of hiding.
So, in one of your recent YouTube lives, and you do these like almost weekly, and if anyone can catch it, they're really, really amazing because you're sharing kind of what's new, and then whoever's on there, because usually it's a not a large group, so we can ask questions. What did you call it? It wasn't the ego, it was the something
I do measure the false ego. That is
false
one of the
ego. That's what it was.
calibrations
I
that
couldn't remember what word it was. Yeah, what is that? And what, you know,
Well, our ego is our identity, and we have a true identity. And then we have all the masks that people play. There's a lot of healers that are wearing the healer mask, but it's all from a place of ego. It's all about show and like, this is what I do, but they don't have a grounding cord and they've only got two rings and their heart's only 15 open. But they're this healer, so um, in my opinion, this false ego is uh, not our true identity and gotta go.
well, where does that, if it's not a conscious thing, like there are people that know they are putting on a certain,
Hmm.
mask or whatever, they're presenting a certain
Yep.
persona. If it's not a conscious
Yeah.
thing, where does that come from? Does that come from an insecurity? Does it come from where would that come from if it's not a conscious doing?
Yeah, I would say it would definitely be someone who haven't quite figured out who they are and what they are. And so they have to put up the props so that, this is who I am.
Mm,
And I think a lot of it stems from, yeah, not having a lot of confidence in who and what we are and being able to fully embody all of
right.
that. That's can be a lifelong lesson too.
Mm. Yeah, no, I thought it was important because I know it was one of the few things you were reading for people, and a lot of it was very low. I mean, like, or high, I should say, which is not a good thing. So I'd love for you to just, I'm really curious, when someone does a session with you, how much prep, like, okay, you do them obviously virtually, I assume.
Yeah, just like this.
Okay, so how much information do you have beforehand? Like, do you want to know why they're coming to you? Are there certain areas, or is it really just sort of to let and see what information you get, what you're picking up, or do you do a combination of both?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the person. So, I don't do a session without having first done a report. There's two reports that can be done. One is the vibrational altitude report, which is a lot of the things I mentioned earlier. That's great for people who are having business or money issues or relationship stuff. And then the other one is the human technology assessment, where I measure more than 100 calibrations of all your body systems, body organs, the cellular light quotient in all of those. So it's very involved. That's more for people who have health issues, things going on with their body. So it all depends. It is it is helpful just to kind of direct things if people have a specific issue or thing that they're working on. If they came to me because they are having relationship stuff, but I'm over here, working on their money frequency. Maybe that's related, but
Mm,
but it's helpful to have a direction. But then again, someone could come to me and say, I don't have a clue. I just know I need help. Well, yeah, I'll just dive in
mm.
and go to the most obvious things that are creating the most problems.
And it's very humbling because many times people probably think, oh, I'm doing great. And then you get a reading and you're like, and one of the things that I love about your work and especially with the book is your whole thing is about teaching people to be able to do this for
Yeah.
yourself. And it's so important because so many times it's, no, I have to be the one to
Mhm.
do this. And yes, I would obviously, I mean, I haven't personally had a reading with you yet, but the more that I hear about this, the more I'm thinking just how fascinating it would be to do that. But yeah, it is such a wonderful thing that people can learn to do this. And, there's different ways of testing, whether it's the yes, no, there's there's all different kinds of ways of doing it. What haven't we covered that you think it's important for people to know about your work? And I mean, because this is, you've taken Hawking's thing through a whole new level. I mean, this is pretty significant. I think. I mean, for
Yeah.
people that know his work
Yeah,
and
no, I'm standing on his shoulders for sure. And just took it up from there. Um, and I am hesitant of, giving, I'm not giving myself credit. I just was the channel that brought in the information that was able to take it to that next level. The thought that came to mind was, though, that it's a lot easier to shift these things than people realize.
Mm,
But a lot of people are really committed to their stories, and so that's why when people work with me, there's a series of questions that I ask, because I want to make sure that people are really committed to this process, and that because there's some people who they want change, but they're not willing to change. They're not willing to do the work. If you want a different result, you have to do different things. And you have to be willing to let go of the stuff that's holding you there. So that is important. And yeah, it's one of the things I privately measure. you know,
mm.
how committed is this person to really creating change? Are they just wanting to do the next thing that's supposed to help them? So it's I am definitely a teacher, and I am really far more interested in empowering people to learn how to do this themselves, and it's a lot easier than people think. I have discovered that I think calibrating is probably the hardest part, to the degree that I do it. But if you can just get your yes and no, that will take you so far.
Mhm.
If you knew a yes or no for so many things, uh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people
being
just need
able
to
to get
learn to
that
trust.
information.
Yeah, just to trust.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part.
Should should I go left or right? Yes or no? Should I go further? A yes or no? Should I go with someone or without someone? Yes or no?
Yeah, or you
It's
can take
it's
some
endless.
food and hold it to your stomach and do the sway test. You can do it in a grocery store. Just ask, is this?
Yes, the body pendulum. Yes. There's a lot of ways that you can get that internal yes or no. You can muscle test. You can use that body pendulum thing. You can
You can use a real
listen
pendulum
to
too.
in your head. Yeah, that's where I started, with a pendulum. hmm Some people use a dowsing rods. What, whatever your thing is, figure it out.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny that you mentioned being attached to stories because I see that so much in my work. As a matter of fact, I just made a video like 2 days ago about people, they don't know who they are without their stories. So even though they want to change, it helps explain why they are the way they are, right? So if you take that away, all of a sudden they have to take responsibility. So like you're saying, if they're going to come to you and say, change me, but wait a minute, really? Now I have to actually take some other action. I have to do something new and different. It's very scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. In the last 12-day program that I do every other month, it was all about our money, the money matrix, and recoding a new reality. And one of the most fascinating things that came up was this big energy that everybody was working on, that was all about the addiction to drama and chaos. And we before we could even clear that, the group, there's 50 people in this group, create all their drama and chaos was coming up. And I couldn't even get on the thing. It kept kicking me off. So I finally just did a uh this session, just me and my camera, and that I recorded and gave to them. And it ended up being twice as long. Usually it's only 20 minutes. It took me 40 minutes to do this clearing. But it was so powerful because they kept creating more chaos and drama in this whole money arena. Like, if you're addicted to drama and chaos, there's always going to be that thing of losing your money, or the accident that happens, or the thing that breaks, or losing your job, whatever the thing is, so that you can't ever really rise above to really tap into those higher money frequencies. So
Mm,
that was really powerful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
And
cool.
that can be calibrated. The percent that someone is addicted to drama and chaos can be measured. And then once you clear, so this is the thing, once I help them clear the energies, then we remeasure. Did we get all of it? We don't want to get just, 85%. We want 100% gone, cleared. So that's
So
important.
speaking of clearing, I have a question. In your meditations, you make this sound like you're like you're blowing it, like you're it's very interesting because and I think it's very powerful to hear that. What are you doing actually? It sounds like you're blowing at a candle that's like 3 feet away.
Yeah, it's nothing intentional. There was a time when I tried to control the sounds and the things that were coming out as I'm doing the clearing, but now I don't try to alter it. And that is the energy that I'm feeling as people are moving these energies, as these energies are clearing. And I also speak a light language will come through now when it wants to sort of accelerate the clearings. So that's a whole nother set of sounds that comes through.
Wow. No, it's really
Yeah.
powerful because you kind of feel like, oh, she just sent it off. So before we wrap up,
Yeah, I think it helps people to kind of tap into the things that are moving and releasing. It's like,
yeah.
oh,
Oh, it does. Totally does. Um, so I'm just this is just completely like off subject, but I'm really curious. So you have a vision board behind you. So
I I used to do workshops in vision boards because
yeah, I did too.
I
Yeah, I
love
did too.
them. I used to create a board every month, and then I finally started just doing it every quarter, and then I would teach a class every quarter. So I now have a dream architect toolkit. I don't know if it's available on my website, but if anybody was interested, they could always email support@kimberlysherry.com for the link. But the toolkit has an hour-long workshop that was professionally videotaped that I did live. So that is a recording. I also did a webinar. There's an hour webinar. There's a book that goes with it because there's a whole map. There's a system to this, and why I say these are the most powerful vision boards on the planet, because there's a whole system to it. They're feng shuied, colors. Like, the more that you can do according to this map, the more powerful it will be, along with knowing that you're going to create your board and the energy, or you're going to manifest your board in the energy that you created it. So it comes with a meditation, so you can come up into some higher frequencies before you start, planting your seeds. And when to plant it is also, so that's all in this little workbook.
Oh, I was
So
just very
yeah,
curious because it's very
so
prominent behind you. Get
setting
the
the
book.
tone.
Get the book. It's called Access Your Ultimate Power. It's amazing. I have like all you see my highlights. I always highlight when I read.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
it's easy. I mean, it seems like it's a lot to take in. So I kind of read it in sort of like, you want to read it, you want to digest it, you want to understand it, and then,
Yeah.
play around with it and definitely go check out. So your website is kimberlysherry.com, correct?
Yep.
She's
I
got,
just got
yeah,
a new updated website. beautiful.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful. And you
Yeah.
photograph so well. I mean, they're gorgeous photos on there. And she's got these meditations on there. You've got the grounding one, that running your energy. Really powerful. Really, really
Yeah.
powerful. I definitely suggest checking it out. And
That free meditation on the website, there's a 20-minute version, 8-minute version. That is the foundation for the book. The book outlines that process of running your energy, which is kind of like Energy 101. So all my clients use this process of running your energy, and it's how we stay grounded. It's how we keep things flowing. That circle of reciprocity, giving and receiving, making sure we receive. So yeah, it's very powerful, very helpful.
yes.
And also on my YouTube channel, which Shama Kim Productions, or you could probably type in my name and find a way. But if you were to, there's probably, I don't know, at least maybe 10 years worth of videos there. But if you were to click on the live tab, there's a whole slew of videos. I used to do live on Facebook
Mm,
every week. I think I did it for like 6 or 7 years.
wow.
And those are all activations. So also very powerful. And for those people who are more interested in the more updated uh, energy clearings, we do that once a month on the first Thursday of every month in the luminary activation. And so that is a membership site. And but so you get, if you were to join for a whole year, you get a whole year's worth of activations. Depending on where you join in the year, we had to kind of figure things out. But that's really very, very powerful. It's like getting 5 months for free. Um, and so those are the most updated energy frequencies are the ones in the luminary activation. That's also on the
And
website.
check
So
out the
that,
TikTok and Instagram when you see
yeah.
famous people. Fascinating. Yeah, that's what got me hooked.
Well, they deleted the site that had all the readings on it because I don't know, I they don't like
They don't like
going against the mainstream. So,
they don't like the
but
truth.
I do have exactly this is all for truth seekers. So I do have a new TikTok channel, which is Kimberly Sherry Official. My Instagram is Vibrant Longevity 8. There is a Rumble channel where more of the forbidden stuff is.
Okay. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here. This was wonderful and great
My
information. I think
pleasure.
it's
My
really
pleasure.
important to get this information out for people.
I so appreciate you taking the time to connect with me and giving me the opportunity to help people, educate them.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so
As soon
thank you
as I
so
read the
much.
book, I said, "Oh, I have to reach out."
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you everyone for
You're
tuning in,
welcome, Laura.
and we'll see you soon.